Welcome to Treasure Valley Podcast. I'm Chuck. Today's episode is brought to you by LowerGentry Studios. LowerGentry Studios' web series Canyon County will be fully released this year. You can catch the first episode online right now on YouTube. Look it up, LowerGentry Studios, Canyon County. Today, I sit down with Nick Delffs. Nick Delffs is a Treasure Valley musician. We talk about his album Redesign, and we talk about a lot of interesting aspects of music creation and production. Enjoy. Welcome, right. Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on to the podcast. So you are going to be performing shortly here in Boise, as your name is
Yes.
Your band, is yourself.
Yep.
And you're going to be part of TreeFort, which is super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about your music for those of you that are those that are unfamiliar with your work?
What would you like to know?
Well, what inspires you about music writing, and what type of music do you associate yourself with?
Kind of changes all the time. Sometimes I'm not very inspired at all.
Okay.
But when I am, I kind of a lot of different things depending on the day.
Okay.
time of the day.
So you recently released Redesign.
Yeah.
When did that come out?
That came out, when did it come out? 2017?
Okay.
Last year? No, 2016.
Okay, 2016. And
Right? Wait. 17. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Right on. And what was your process when you were writing that?
So I was living in Washington at the time, outside of this town, North Bend, Washington.
Okay.
It's not far from Seattle. It's where Twin Peaks was filmed.
Okay. I'm very familiar with that show.
Yeah. So picture that setting. And I was living in a cabin on the Snoqualmie River, which is the river that runs right through the town or by the town. I didn't know anybody around. I didn't really have any friends there. My son was just living in the next town over with his mom. And anyway, so I didn't have a lot of distractions. And I went through a period where I wasn't really listening to music at all. Nothing was really, I wasn't really connecting with anything. And then but I had this need to hear music. So I started writing these songs, and then gradually started listening to music again. So that's what that process was. So I was just in a good place, I guess, to write, because there wasn't a lot of distractions and things to do and other influences. So so I had all the sketches, and lyrics and melodies, but nothing really flushed out. And then I went to Oakland, and my friend Nicholas Taplin has a studio there in Oakland, California. And I went to his studio and kind of experimented and did a lot of different versions of the songs and kind of figured out the songs there, really.
And you do all of your own instrumentation. You recorded all the instruments on there when you were, which is really impressive, I think, to be able to cover all your bases and be proficient on several instruments, and then you're kind of basically putting into your song what you think that musical part should be. Well, how does that writing process go with that? I mean, you said you had lyrics and melodies. Did you sit down and did you write the chords first? Chord progressions? Did you put in the drum beat? Did you put in the bass line? How did that look?
Each song was different. Some songs the lyrics came first. Other songs just the groove, the rhythm came first. Kind of varied, and I was in a place, in an environment, situation where time wasn't really a limit. I was just in Oakland with my friend. He didn't have a time restraint. We just had a lot of time to experiment and work on it or not work on it. Like I never felt pressure to. It's just, if I wanted to, I could do it for as long as I wanted, and if I didn't want to, I didn't. Sometimes in a studio, it's like there's that pressure. You got to utilize every minute, and because you're paying for it. But I was in a situation where I didn't have to do that. So that process of playing all the instruments. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's totally maddening, and kind of more difficult in some ways, and in other ways, it's like easier than playing with a band. So
I suppose instead of explaining to somebody, you have to try to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You get to. For me, it's you just have like an internal process rather than the external or trying to communicate, and which is beautiful, collaboration and communicating your thoughts and ideas. I really value, and probably the next record I'll do more of that.
Bring on some hired guns and get them going for some of the other parts. That's cool.
Yeah, just because that sounds fun, and refreshing. But it's also there's something about just doing it yourself where it can be really, really quick. You can you have an impulse and you just act on it, and it goes from there.
Which songs out of the Redesign album did you find clicked along the quickest when you were writing? Just out of curiosity. So Somewhere Wild came pretty quickly, and Song for Aja, happened. Yeah, just Were they floating around in your head for a while?
Not so much. Yeah, I mean, the Song for Aja, it just came out like I was on a drive. It happened, it like in a few hours on a long drive.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And who were your influences when you were growing up, musically?
My dad listened to a lot of country music and folk music. Neil Young and Los Lobos and Joni Mitchell. There's a lot of music. I mean, I was really into, just what everyone else, Beatles and George Harrison and that kind of stuff.
So the song composition type of music, very
exactly. So that was a heavy influence from my father, but then I was really influenced by my brother and my sister, and they kind of brought in more like different from my father's music, reggae, Bob Marley, and then other all kinds of music really. Oddly enough, it's weird. I wasn't listening to a lot of Michael Jackson when I was writing this or recording it, but that was a really special, inspiring kind of music when I was younger, and I think it came out. And I don't know. I hear that later anyway.
Oh, right on.
There's some
I
don't think anyone else could hear it. But
which years of Michael are you were you dialed in the most? Do you think?
It's just here and there, Off the Wall, and then like earlier stuff. But anyway, it's kind of interesting how things just come out.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't necessarily pull Michael Jackson.
I don't think anyone would, but there's Well,
the beats that you come up with, I think, are pretty slick. Like the background music, that's where my ear always goes. I tell people all the time, when I'm singing along with music, I don't know the words. I don't remember the words. I will just say the words that go, but it doesn't register with me. It's just like the notes and the melody and the background music is what I cue into, which I thought that's what was pretty impressive, that you did all the instrumentation in the background and the writing. It felt pretty complex to me, but then cool. the songs were simple enough to follow along with, and you knew what to expect. I mean, you have some different areas where you pull that expectation away, I think, in some of those songs, which I dug, because it keeps me on my toes, and then it gives you that appreciation of like, oh, I didn't quite hear that coming.
Oh, I see. That's good to hear.
That's kind of where that's the kind of music I like. Just the stuff where you can dial into a different instrument and there's something interesting going on with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager was the Strokes, because they had basically two riffs going on all the time with the two guitar pieces.
Yeah.
And I thought the first time I heard that, I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's not the lead guy playing the lead riff. It's two lead riffs going on right at the same time. Yeah. And then you can just kind of like pick and choose which one's going on.
Yeah. I like that.
They're not like right on the forefront.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So what was it like? What was the studio like that you recorded the album in? Just had all the instruments? I have no idea. So my studio, as you can see, is a bunch of sound dampeners that I built myself, and then a blanket on the wall to block out the light.
Yeah.
So I just imagine. Do you bring your own instruments in there? Are there specific instruments that you bring that you like to record with?
Kind of in all the situations I've been in recording albums. Yeah, I mean, similar thing. I just brought my guitar, and it's a large living room. Everything is there: keyboards and drums and acoustic piano and yeah. I like.
So it's kind of like a buffet.
It's a buffet.
You just get to walk in there and be like, I'm going to start pounding away on this instrument, see what happens.
Exactly. This particular studio, had it's a buffet, but a limited variety of flavors, in the way that it's just drums, keyboards, piano and a bass.
Okay.
And so it's nice to have limitations, because I've recorded in studios before where you have vibraphones and different kinds of pianos, and a lot of keyboards and a lot of drums, and that's really exciting at first, but there's a lot of rabbit holes that you could fall into. I
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I recently, like 2 years ago, I picked up a MIDI keyboard. And then I purchased FL Studio. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I mean, it's just another. I don't know if you know Ableton at all. Anyway, it's just so it turned this keyboard into. They have all these synthesizers, and then you can. It's a very complicated instrument, because you sit down and then you start dialing this on the screen. It's just a bajillion adjustments that you can make to get it to sound similar to certain instruments or sound very unique, and then the reverb and things like that. And so I would get lost on that for like a week at a time, just trying to get a certain sound out of something. And then it was like, well, what did I do creatively?
Yeah. Right.
I do the music for like the films that LowerGentry Studios does, and so I try to stay on top of the musical productivity and have a backlog of songs and riffs and things that I can pull from, and then that way when we come up with a new project, usually there's some type of musical score I can pull from like my library of riffs and stuff like that. So
I see.
So it was kind of it was initially a step backward as far as like cranking out, making sure I was being productive, because of the fact that the level of selection is infinite.
Yeah.
So many
difficult.
Permutations. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I like limitations.
Yeah. It helps you kind of zero in on a sound too.
Yeah.
Right?
I grew up recording on 4-tracks, and
nice.
And I heard my friend Carl Blau say, one time he had like to keep the four. He called it the 4-track mind. When you're recording and you have an infinite amount of tracks, keep the 4-track mind. There should be these 4 elements that are the core. And I don't know. I try to do that. And limitations are can be really helpful.
Yeah, totally. And 4-track. So you used to have one with the cassette where it would just record all 4
tracks.
All 4 tracks right on there.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah. I was just after that. I had a mini disc that my band used to record to that was super slick. I remember when I got that, I'm like, dang, we are technologically savvy.
That was some exciting, wild new technology.
Yeah, it was super portable.
Tiny.
That's
teeny tiny.
So, how long have you been a solo act? Because I wanted to talk to you about touring and things like that too. Because we were talking, it's kind of been a dream of mine to be able to go on tour.
Yeah. You can do it.
Cool. Thanks.
And it's not that great. No, I'm just joking. No, it's fun. And it's not fun. But So solo act. So I don't know. I've played solo since I was like a kid, but I feel like I haven't really taken it seriously until like a few years ago. I decided, and especially so I've been, everything that I do or that I want to do or that I'm interested in, like it's rhythm. I'm really I really like rhythm, simple rhythm, and so I decided to play with this kick drum, and it really helped, especially with a lot of these new songs that are very rhythm oriented. And so, yeah, anyway, just a few years ago, I decided to like have band practice like with myself,
Okay.
like really kind of take it seriously as opposed
Yeah.
to, solo shows, you just, yeah, like, okay, whatever, I'll just play this song and I don't know, for some reason I just didn't take it that seriously, but I decided to try to take it seriously here in Boise, because I was getting Eric was getting me a lot of shows and gigs, where I play for long periods of time, and so anyway, I just decided to take it seriously and have band practice with myself, like kind of be a little more regimented, and yeah. Anyway.
Right on. And
Yeah.
learn to jam with yourself with
Yeah.
that kick drum. Is guitar your primary instrument? Is that what you started on?
No, I play drum set. I played drums for a long
wow.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Well, that makes sense then, that I kind of cue into a lot of the rhythmic stuff that you have in the background on your album. It's super slick. I feel like drums is one of those things. It's like, it's really cool that you go to guitar from drums.
Yeah, it just makes more sense to me, and I feel like I'm more proficient at that, just because it's just what I'm more interested in, and I've had more time with that instrument, and I've just kind of applied whatever I learned playing drums as a kid to just whatever instrument I played. Guitar, like I'm not really a guitar player, like
Okay.
like I don't know, the drummer that I play with in Portland, like he thinks of my guitar playing as just like a shaker.
Okay.
I guess that's all. It's just rhythm. I don't know.
Okay.
There's nothing that interesting about it to me, and I'm not trying to be very interesting with the guitar. I mean, and that's another thing. Like I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. There's this whole thing. Yeah. I'm not. Mindset. Where you. I heard someone say. That there was an artist, it was a mime actually, say that the turning point in their career was that they stopped trying to be interesting and started trying to be more interested, and so that's where I kind of think the creative process, you can benefit within the creative process, that kind of where you want to become interested yourself, before you're interesting to someone else.
That's really funny that you bring that up, because I wanted to ask you specifically about introvert versus extrovert musicianship. I had written that question down because it was something I was thinking about this week, and how when you're playing in front of people, obviously you get a certain level of excitement when you're doing that, and like in an extroverted fashion, like I'm really enjoying this, I'm in the moment, I'm here with this crowd. But then there's also that aspect of when you're sitting down with your instrument and getting some progress on a song, or coming up with something, or an idea hits you and you're just in the moment with yourself. What do you think? What percentage are you introverted versus extroverted as a musician? Where do you get your kicks?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I feel like I have the extremes. I can be an extreme introvert and an extreme extrovert, but within the creative process, that's tricky. Yeah, when like I'm writing or experimenting, it's really nice to be in that space of. You're not thinking about anyone else really, and you're just not thinking. You're not analyzing, or that's the beauty of music or meditation or whatever whatever activity one does to center themselves, is that you get to turn off that planning analytical mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, analytical mind. The self-editing process is crucial and important, but that doesn't always need to happen right away. It's better to have that happen later.
Kind of get the idea out there first, and then go back and look at it.
Yeah. So there's this kind of dance or play between, the objective and the subjective, view on what you're doing. Obviously you can't be purely objective, but yeah. So like, do it for yourself or for whoever, and then after that, at that point, then you can start kind of analyzing it, and I guess that would be maybe extroverted approach to it.
Yeah, making it more popular for honing it in.
Yeah,
almost.
or you have an idea, you have something that you want to say, and then you say it, and then it's documented, and then it kind of sits and marinates, and then you're able to look at it, and you're just like, okay, like what is the value of this, or what is that person, you in the past. What is that person trying to say?
What do you did you do a lot of the production process on your album as well? Aside from recording, did you do a lot of the balancing, or how did that work out? Speaking of like the objective part,
yeah.
The part that you spent, that's the other.
Yeah,
it's like the iceberg.
That's the other. Yeah, I don't know what percentage that is, but it's, I don't know, at least 50% of it is the mixing and producing part. And yeah, I've always tried to be involved in that as much as I can. So I'm not, so I guess the producing, the producing that I contributed to the album, I guess would be kind of, more in the, so I, what am I trying to say? So my friend Nicholas, that was the engineer.
Okay.
He was the engineer. So he took care of all of the technology. And anyway, so we produced together, kind of in that first. So yeah, production is interesting. Yeah, because it's it starts from the beginning of the process. It starts where you place the microphone.
Yes.
And it goes from there.
Very crucial, depending upon what type of sound that you want to get from your instrument, or whether it's a direct line, or if it's a mic'd amplifier, and what the amplifier that you want to use and how you want that to sound is, specifically guitar.
Yeah.
Or the bass drum, how close you want to have that mic to. It's less booming usually, right? If you pull it away a little bit, so it's a little bit more, which I would imagine would make a huge difference in the balancing of the track.
Yeah.
Like that bass aspect is one thing that I get really interested in when I'm listening to things, because sometimes that bass drum is there, but it doesn't come off as bassy, and then the artist will throw in the bass guitar and then make that the booming instrument, which completely changes the feel of the song.
Exactly. Yeah. So
you know all about that type of stuff, and so you help
a little
contribute.
bit. A lot of it's just intuitive, It's like I don't have any rules or education about it, just in my own experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I could never just produce something totally on my own. I'm always relying on friends or professionals that really understand the technology behind it.
And it helps it helps probably the entire process to get input along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really value, and especially when you're doing a project where you're playing every instrument, you really need to get away from yourself, because this is all you when you're playing every instrument. So yeah, it's really beneficial to have those other personalities in there, and yeah, that's like kind of my favorite way of that. It's a great collaborative process, the producing and mixing part of the album.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite part? Is it the performance? Is it the writing?
It kind of changes all the time. Yeah, sometimes writing is really gratifying and intoxicating, and then sometimes it's not at all. Sometimes writing is like just like completely derails me, and it makes me, like lose touch with reality and become very irresponsible. So, it's sometimes I don't like writing. A lot of times, like I'm doing this more and more, like deciding like, okay, now I want to write, but more importantly now, like I'm not going to write,
Do you have like a procedure that you follow?
No, it's not really strict. It's just kind of an intuitive thing where it's just like I don't want to, and it's very practical sometimes. It's like, okay, like I have a job and I have a son, and I need to do all these things, and I don't want to be super distracted. I want to take care of the material, things and the people I love, and I don't want to neglect them or be irresponsible. So I'm not going to write right now. And then
you get pulled that deeply into it then. Into the writing process. Is that what you're saying? You could just
sometimes
you could just get lost.
See,
for
I never
hours.
know. So it's just like, you got to be careful.
Right. So it is your drug almost.
Yeah, it's very intoxicating. So you have to be careful with it. And I'm learning how to be regulated with it. And I'm also trying to not have a codependent relationship with it, with the writing process and the creative process. I don't want to rely on it for everything. But it's really fun when it's there, and it helps me figure out who I am, and gives me something. A lot of this society, this world that we live in, it's like we're oftentimes doing things that don't really make any sense, and we're not good at. A lot of times people have a job where they just don't care about their job.
Yeah,
it's not what they're meant to do. It's not what they're interested in, but they just do it for the majority of their life.
What do you think that is? Is it just fear of risk taking? I'm just curious about.
Oh, why we're in that situation? Yeah. That's a huge question. I mean, I think, I don't even know where to begin with that. And I don't know the answer. but that's the situation we're in. And so it's nice to have something like music or whatever you do it makes, to feel alive, and makes it feel like you're doing something important,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't know why it's important. I don't know the purpose of music, but I try not to analyze it too much.
Right on. Just go with your gut.
Yeah.
I actually, several episodes now, a friend of mine, his name's Tyler Carson. He's a violinist, and he's from Victoria, Canada. And at the age of like 12, he played in the Victoria Philharmonic. I mean, you know what I mean? Very amazing violinist that has since gone into like pop music. And he went on this tangent of just looping his own violin and driving around with his wife in an RV. Very cool guy. But he kind of gets that when he's playing, he talks about that getting into that zone. Because I was asking him about like how, being such a skilled musician, what is it that how do you get to that point where your thoughts are coming out? And he's like, the problem is you just can't think about it.
Yeah.
He's like, you can become pretty proficient pretty quickly with the instrument if you just don't
overthink it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, when you approach it that way, it pulls you into that zone. And since then I've been trying to approach the music that way, because I told you, I have a guitar background. I learned how to play some trap set as well, but like sitting in front of a keyboard, it's very unnatural for me. It makes sense though, because at least like they're all just ordered. All the notes are right there.
Yeah, right.
So you can hammer away on it, but it's kind of nice, and then it's like, well, just quit thinking about it, and all of a sudden stuff starts to come out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was kind of tangential. I wanted to talk to you about touring.
Yeah.
Too. So you have you toured as a solo act?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have.
And then you were with a band in Portland previously, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so can you tell everyone about touring and what the reality of that is versus somebody that wants to become a musician on tour?
Okay. Yeah.
The highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows. So I was in a band for many years. We're the Shaky Hands, and we toured a lot. I don't know how many full U.S. tours, but quite a few full U.S. tours, and we toured Europe. Let's see. Yeah. So I don't know. It seems kind of seems kind of like a young man's gig, young person's gig.
Okay.
And yeah, especially since I've had my son, it's just not practical. But I like going on short tours. I like going out for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. But
Yeah. What's the longest tour you've been on?
The Shaky Hands went on a tour that I think was 2.5 months straight.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe even more. Yeah, it was like a full U.S. tour, and then we flew to Europe for a month, and we toured Europe for a month, and then we flew back to the U.S. and did I don't know how long, but then U.S. East Coast to West Coast stint, and so long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does it look like? What's fun about it? What's atrocious about the process?
Yeah, so that was too long. First of all, I mean, that's just. That
was it almost every night that you were playing?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of days off.
Dang.
Yeah, so I can remember. This is quite a while ago, but anyway.
What instrument were you playing?
I was playing electric guitar.
Okay.
And so I don't know. I like traveling. I like meeting people. I like, really feeling that, it's like everything's just kind of temporary. You're just like you see something, and then you're in the next town the next day, or and everything's just moving along. You can kind of it's very easy to stay stimulated. I feel like when you're traveling.
Does that stimulation start to wear off?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's just traveling's hard on the body first of all, and it's hard to find good food.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
The food part's hard. Yeah, that's really hard.
Whenever I go out of town, I'm always like, oh man, I'm just gonna eat another crappy whatever. I'm gonna feel awful after eating this. You can just start eating really greasy
bad. And it can, after a while. I mean, that really wears on you. Wore on me. So that's kind of the hard part. But but it's great. I mean, like just musically, it's so great to, especially with the band. And I felt it a little bit on the solo tours that I've done. You just that thing where, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where, you're putting so much time every night. You're playing, and so it just becomes so effortless. And that's kind of when you're talking about the classical musician friend, or that effortlessness, that's kind of that's the goal in some ways, as a performer, to get to that point where you just it so well, and if it's a compelling idea or piece of music that can be played thousands and millions of times, to get really comfortable with performing it, and is great. And that's what I value most about touring is that practice.
Oh, okay.
And not having.
Interesting. I never even thought about that aspect. I mean, I guess you would have to play your set list over and over again.
Yeah.
But I suppose you get to approach it differently each time, and maybe if you are comfortable, you can kind of let some of those inner thoughts or inner emotions just come right out into the performance a lot more easily without having to have that top-down thinking process about where your hands are or whether or not you're hitting the cue, because it's just you're gonna hit it perfectly anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah,
that's pretty slick. Did you meet any interesting people? I told you I kind of want to hear. I want to hear a story about somebody,
like someone that I met on tour.
Yeah, maybe or whatever. I mean, it'd be cool if you had a story about somebody that you met for the first time and someone that interesting interactions.
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of that sort of thing. Trying to think of. I'll have to think on that.
Okay.
Yeah, someone that I met. Tell a story about someone that you met. Okay.
Well, what was your favorite place to visit? I guess it doesn't have to be on tour. I don't know if there's a place that you like to visit.
Let's see. There's I don't know. There's some nice swimming holes that I've been to.
In the Twin Peaks area?
Yeah, and here in Idaho and California, and I like swimming. I like backpacking, and but cities.
Were there any places where you visited on tour and you're like, I need to come back here? This place seems really
Yeah,
cool.
a lot of places. Especially in Europe, we didn't really have enough time. It's like to really.
Have you spent time there outside of touring?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I've just done two different tours.
Okay.
Through Europe.
Without very many days off, that's got to be kind of
a
bummer with
like,
all that.
Oh man, I wish I had just a few more days.
All that history and culture. You're on stage.
Right. And then you're just gone the next day.
Dang.
Like, see you later, Paris. I heard you're really great.
Were there any cool towns in Europe that people wouldn't necessarily register on their minds that you were like, this place is awesome?
There's this town called Quedlinburg. I think that's the name of it. Quedlinburg in Germany.
Okay.
I don't know. I just really liked it. It was a very small town. There's some old castles kind of on the outskirts. And I don't know. I met some cool people there. There's the man that ran a venue there. I forget his name, but he was such like a wonderful host, So yeah, I went there with my friend Allie. So I was doing a solo tour, and then she hopped on, and so kind of doing a duo tour, and we played in Quedlinburg, and took a train there, and he picked us up from the train, which I wasn't expecting. He was there, and he drove us to the venue, and he had a nice little room for us to stay in. And cooked us, I forget it was just like rice, and it was like a curry, I think. Just this really simple meal, but it was just so good, especially being on the road and just eating bread and just like old food. That's the thing about, eating junk food or it's like old food. You're eating old processed food, which is supposedly the worst possible thing for you to eat. So, to have this fresh, home-cooked meal by this man that I forget his name, and he ran the venue, and I could tell he really put the posters out and got the word out to the town, and had a good crowd. He was just so sweet, and I put a lot of care into this thing that he had going on. So
that's slick.
Yeah,
that's really slick.
And that's pretty common though. Like in Germany and in France, and you have these people that run venues, or they really care about the music, and they kind of they do it full on, and they really take care of the artists,
How does that
in this different way?
How does that happen to where your music gets to the point where, oh, okay, well, you can go on tour in Europe and people are going to recognize you, or how does that work? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just choose to do it, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I want to tour Europe, so you get in contact with the booking agent, or you book it yourself. And yeah, it's amazing. It's like last time I was there, when I was doing this duo tour, it's like I set up a lot of the shows while I was there. I was on tour with another band, and then after that tour, I was like a hired gun drummer for this band, Radiation City. And while I was on that tour, I kind of set up the other tour after that one. If that makes any sense? Yeah. Anyway, and so as I was doing it, coming in contact with, getting contacts and meeting people and setting up the tour and the shows. It's just the fact that that you've traveled this far, and that that the fact that you're doing it. It's like there's kind of a reciprocation with that.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing this, like, we're gonna take it seriously too. You're taking it seriously. We're gonna take it seriously.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What are the crowds like in Europe? Is there any difference versus the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like there was a difference. I don't know, just kind of more excited and loving in a certain way. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't. Britain's different. Britain's kind of like the United States. There's, like, people are just kind of seem to be a little bit jaded.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know. I've just gone a couple of times, and this is my 2 cents from my limited experience. But
they're trying to keep up with the Joneses in
I don't
Britain
know
as much as they are here, possibly.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, every place is different, everyone is different, but for the most part, yeah, I mean, that's a common thing. People enjoy touring Europe more than the U.S. So
okay,
and it makes sense to me.
And what do you think about the change in the? How long have you been performing music? Just out of curiosity.
Since I was a kid, yeah, pretty young. Yeah.
What do you think about the changes that have happened as far as basically? I mean, when I was a teen and a young kid, there were a handful of bands that everybody knew about.
Yeah.
When they were making music. I mean, that still kind of exists, but I feel like that number has dwindled. And then the number of people that are out performing has increased by tremendously.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the size of the Treasure Valley and then the TreeFort, that week long or however many days, like 5 days of concert, and the number of acts that they can get in and the number of skilled acts, it kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
Especially the size of the town. And I think Boise's kind of music forward, though. I mean, I don't know that I've ever been disappointed going to a show in downtown Boise and just walking in and seeing a band I've never really heard of before.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just curious about what you've seen, because you've traveled around, you've played, it sounds like, in California and Washington and Oregon and here, and you've gone on tour. What have you seen in the changes in that, and what are the benefits of having so much music available versus how it was before?
Yeah, that's a big question. First of all, with Boise, it's like, you need someone like Eric Gilbert, that pushes it, and then once that started, there's a momentum there. And I feel like that could happen anywhere, really. It's like music is a universal language. But yeah, I don't know, the amount of music, it's, you could say it's because of the technology. Not only that the technology to record the music is more readily available, but then you have the technology to share the music.
Yeah.
This social media is easier and available to everyone. So, that's an obvious thing. That's but yeah, I don't know. I guess, sorry I'm kind of divert back to your question, how long I've been playing music.
Sure.
Then I'll try to tie it into.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, the way I started out, I was interested in the drums, but I didn't have a drum set. So my brother stole the drum set from his high school. My brother's 7 years older than me. Anyway.
Okay.
And so he he had a friend, his best friend played bass, and my brother played guitar. And so, so they needed a drummer, like, desperately. I don't think he necessarily, like, even wanted me, but
you were in a small town. Was this Mendocino? Was this?
Yeah, south of there, really small rural place. Yeah. So
no, I know exactly, because I grew up in Yankton, South Dakota. 12,000 people, and it was like you knew the drummers because there were like 5 people in town that could play the drums well enough to be on stage.
Yeah, one of those kind of things. Yeah. I mean, we lived in the middle of nowhere, and the nearest town to where our house was just a store and a post office, and there's just other small little coastal towns there. And so anyway, so not a lot of no music program at the high school, so that's why my brother felt justified in stealing the drum set. So anyway, so I just, I played drums in his band for, and we played some fun shows, and it was pretty, loud, music. We were really into Sonic Youth at the time.
Okay.
And so, and so, it started out there, and, had a drum set, that was stolen, a really nice drum set, actually. And started playing with my brother, and I don't know, it started out as very, like, he needed a drummer. I wanted to play drums, so it happened very naturally. And then, from there, I played in different bands, and then, moving to Portland was really exciting, because there's a lot of musicians there, and a lot of house shows,
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, that was a cool thing because it was just, there wasn't, it seemed like our own thing that we were doing that was completely separate from capitalism, or whatever. It's like you're not getting paid, you're not there to sell alcohol. A lot of venues, it's like that's the reason why you're there. It feels like just to help sell the alcohol. But so yeah, starting in that environment, and yeah. So how it's changed now? Yeah, I still have a hard time. I have a hard time with the social media aspect of it. I mean, I think it's great in a lot of ways. To be able to reach so many people and promote things so easily.
Yeah.
But I guess I have a hard time with it because I just want to do it. I just want to make the art, I don't want to promote it. I think it should be promoted, and there's a I feel like a responsibility sometimes, when you make something and you bring other people into it and you sacrifice yourself to make an album or a song, you kind of have this duty, like to share it, and so social media is a great tool to share it, obviously.
Yeah. But
I just have a hard time with I don't know. I don't want to promote it, or it's an awkward position to be in. It's like I heard that Jonathan Richman, he doesn't, the artist Jonathan Richman, he doesn't bring his own albums and stuff to his shows, because I don't know. I heard that he once he performs, like the idea that he performs and then he jumps behind the merch table and then he sells his stuff and then he's like the salesman. It's like it's kind of awkward and weird hats that interesting different hats you got to take off and put on.
Well, it's almost like it puts a certain amount of pressure on you that the genuineness in your artistic performance could be put at risk based on the fact that you have external pressure to make sure that you're making enough money if this is what you want to do.
That's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah, you articulated it well. Yeah, that's the way what I'm saying.
My brother and I, we do a film thing, and we kind of realized that the talent that you have as an artist is not the same as the talent that you have as a promoter, which is always true.
Yeah.
And now because the medium has been opened up to everybody where you don't have to know a promoter to get, back in the day, you go to Ticketmaster booth at the grocery store and then you go buy tickets to like whatever show, and that was the way you did it. Now it's anybody has access to have their own ticket booth for whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a completely separate skill set than being a musician.
Yeah.
Or being a filmmaker, or being a photographer, or being good at those things. And it's kind of interesting where that intersection is and where that meets, and then what ends up being profitable.
Yeah.
As a result of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's I think of the same thing. It's like encouraging in a certain sense, but then in another sense it's discouraging because you have to do it if you want to get yourself up to the top of the heap. You have to become proficient at it, which requires time. It requires commitment. And then it's one of those awkward things like you were talking about where you're like, hey, I'm really great, right? Let me talk about how great I am myself.
Or sometimes it feels like social media, like you're shouting in an ocean of people, like, hey, what about me? Because everyone's just screaming at once. There's this huge wall of sound, that people are trying to promote themselves.
How apropos that a musician would use a metaphor about sound for social media. Good work.
Thank you. This interview is going very well all of a sudden. What I was going to say, not only is that, but I mean, it's expected too. That's the other thing. Like if you're playing a show, a venue expects it, and if you're on a record label expects you to do all these things and be very consistent with posting and that sort of thing. And it's fine. I mean, it's what it is. That's where we're at now. So might as well just do it, you know, why not?
It's that discipline aspect too. I have a hard time with it. It's like, I mean, there was one point where we're like, we're going to do a certain number of posts per week, right? And then it starts to fall by the wayside because you have other projects that you want to get done. That's like the thing that you care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus the thing that you're like, I don't, whatever, you know, I'm not concerned about how often I post. And then sometimes it takes too much brain power. And then immediately I go to the top down aspect, the top down thinking. It's like, okay, well, how do I connect this to whatever's going on right now in the news or whatever? Some people are so naturally good at it, though. I'm just like jealous.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you just help me out?
Give me a little bit of that.
You know, like you were talking about, like, you know, the sound processing and the production end of doing an album. It's like, yeah, that aspect of social media. There are people that do that, though. There got to be. Probably not too many people here in the Treasure Valley, but like in LA and New York, I'm sure there's people that just run their business.
There's a lot of wizards out there.
Yeah, just throwing people up to the top of the heap on Instagram and Twitter and social media and Facebook and all that nonsense. But anyway, it's nuts. So you've seen that changes it now that bands can promote themselves. And like you said, you can just go on tour, decide to go on tour.
Yeah.
Is that something that's newer, would you say? Or has that always existed, but now maybe there's more people that are looking for new types of music since it is so readily available?
I don't know. I don't really know.
No.
Definitely not an expert.
Okay.
So I mean, I could speculate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah.
How do you find new music to listen to?
How do I find new music?
Yeah. And what kind of shows do you usually go to?
Yeah. So a lot of the new music, I have friends that turn me on to stuff all the time.
Okay.
And yeah, I try to, I try to look all around, you know, or music just comes to me too, you know. It's like I'll accidentally have the classical music station on when I start my car, and then there's this like just totally mind-blowing, you know, life-altering music that happens, you know, accidentally. It's like, oh wow. You know, so just it's happening all the time. New music and ideas are everywhere. And yeah, but I mean, yeah, if there's like a really good album that came out, I feel like my friends will let me know, or I'll see it somehow. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't actively seek that stuff out, and there's so much older music and out there, and
that's kind of, I guess that's one of the things that I've started to appreciate about like Spotify and those types of services is I can get into some of those groups that I listen to, and then you can find all sorts of backtracks of stuff that you didn't necessarily listen to when you were younger.
Yeah.
Because it was always whatever was on the radio was going to be their hit tunes.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had even more brilliant songs and tracks, like deeper into that album.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, exactly. Like the talking. And a new one that I've run into is Daniel Johnston. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Very familiar.
I didn't know that he existed until like 3 months ago. And it's an amazing thing that he's got just album after album on Spotify, and I'm just more and more amazed as I click next. I'm like, this guy is great.
Yeah.
How did I not know about him?
Yeah.
And why does the world not know about him? And then as I get into it, and then you can delve into like, you know, Wikipedia pages on these artists, and then you're like, oh my gosh, well, he did influence a ton of different people, it was bizarre, but he's not necessarily like, when he was making music, which would have been like in the 80s and 90s, he wasn't, you know, as prevalent as like the Talking Heads. Yeah. You know, but still
he was doing
just as influential somehow, you know. Yeah. And it was that genuineness that I think that he projected in his tracks, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, so genuine and such a prolific,
which I think is probably why I can get access to his music. Because obviously people treasured it enough to keep it around. Yeah. Because those tapes, obviously, they would have degraded with this many decades.
He's gotten a lot of help. Yeah. The band Shaky Hands that I played, and we played on the BBC radio right before him.
Oh, really?
right after. I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
He was there. We got to watch him perform.
Oh, cool.
And then we got to meet him and talk with him, and then we played.
Right on.
So it was pretty cool. And that was kind of, at that point, I was actually like, that was kind of like the peak of my interest in him. So it was pretty great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be nice.
Yeah, he's a funny, strange man.
Well, I mean, just listening to some of his lyrics, those connections that he's making, I don't think that only he could make them.
Yeah,
I would just
he's in his own world, which is
That's cool. Have you so you were actually at the peak of enjoying his music, and you happened to run into him, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any other experiences with any musicians where you're like, oh, this is great?
Yeah, I was really into Tom Waits when I was a teenager, and he's and I heard his name growing up because he was actually a family friend.
Oh, okay.
My mother's best friend is really good friends with him. And my mother's best friend, kind of like my aunt, her daughter and Tom Waits' daughter, good friends. So, yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I just got really into his music, especially the album Rain Dogs. I remember when I was pretty young, and then yeah. So we went to my mother's best friend's birthday party, and he was there, and so I got to talk with him for a while, and we just talked to him about music, and that was really cool. I mean,
did he give you any pointers that you're willing to divulge?
No, but I just remember him saying that. I don't know. We were like talking about recording or something. It was a long time ago, but he said that he's like the best guitar sound is. Like one time I put a stethoscope in my ears and then put the other end inside the guitar in my bathroom, and it was like the best sound. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. I don't even know how you would gather that through this stethoscope. You'd have to put you'd have to make some plastic ears and then stick a lavalier mic on the inside and plug it in and get it in stereo. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Now I'm going to have to try that. Acoustic, I'm guessing.
I guess that's what he said, yeah.
A back of an acoustic guitar in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to know what it sounds like.
And I remember he said,
I have a stethoscope and at the school I have access to. I'm going to have to now.
Now you got to try it out.
Have you?
No, I never tried it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember he said too, his wife fed him all of this great music like he was a baby bird.
Oh.
Regurgitating into his mouth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right on.
But yeah, so that was cool to meet him when I was really into his music. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any other albums coming up? Are you writing anything? I mean, you said that you kind of like take the writing as more of a specific procedure, so you don't get too pulled into it. But are you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to write a little bit right now. I've taken a few months off, so I'm just kind of beginning, not pushing it too much. And I'm a little backed up. It's like I've got an album that I'm recording right now, and I have all the songs written. I'm recording here in Boise, and so I'm trying to focus on that as much as I can. And then I have an album that I have recorded myself that I'm trying to figure out the best way to release it. I might go under like a different name or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite sure. But it's all finished, and I want to just throw it out there. I don't know if I'll even do physical copies, and I don't want to. I recorded it myself, so it's very lo-fi.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to pitch it to my record label. I'd like to just kind of release it.
Is it with your acoustic guitar and a bass drum, or did you add some other instrumentation?
No, it's like a piano and percussion. And yeah, there's a little bit of guitar in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and some of the tracks are just a cappella.
Oh,
yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and then some of them are my son's made up some songs, and I got to capture those.
Oh, cool.
Singing, yeah.
How'd you record it? What'd you use?
I used a 4-track on my phone.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you had the 4-track go into the phone input?
Sometimes I'd record with my phone and put it in the 4-track and then back on my phone, and then other times I'd record on my phone. And then I would record on my 4-track and put it into my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So
kind of silly.
I'm kind of excited to hear this now.
I think it's cool.
Do you perform some of these songs live when you have a gig, or not quite?
There's a couple of them that I've performed. Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of them are kind of experimenting songs. Some of them are kind of like riffing with the lyrics. Sometimes like improvising lyrics.
Yeah.
Which can be kind of scary. I don't know if you've ever done that.
No, it's like I said, like I'm awful. So I love to write music, but when it comes to the lyrics, I'm just a bonehead. So I don't know. I mean, I can come up with things that rhyme, but it's always really cliche and lame. I'm like, I just throw it away. I'm like, no, I'll just focus on the bass and the drums, because that's what I like.
Honestly, I feel that way a lot of the time.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing about songwriting. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like it's like almost doesn't matter how long you've done it. Just because every time I start doing it, it's just I feel like I've never done it before. It's like, and I'm always questioning too. Like, do I still do this? Like, is this still something I can do? Yeah. And that used to be kind of scary, but now it's just like, maybe I just don't do it anymore.
Huh.
And that'll be okay. I mean, I'll still survive.
I remember one day I was like super frustrated because I was trying to come up with something for the background of one of our short films. And so what I did was I went online to a random number generator, and then I just had it generate five random numbers between 1 and 12. And then I put it onto a corresponding note. And then I'm like, I have to write something with these 5 notes now.
Cool.
And it's gonna have to work. And then when I put myself within that block, like I didn't
limitations.
I didn't use that. I didn't end up using that specific thing. But then I'm like, well, once I got that track, that riff down using those 5 notes, then it kind of allowed me to move on to the next. It gave me some ideas.
That's cool.
So I'm not just like stuck in that.
Yeah.
It's awful sometimes. And you get super frustrated too.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting watching that video over and over again. I'm like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. But yeah, I know but the lyrics, at least I don't have to worry about that. That's hard. The lyrics are hard. And then sometimes when I read them, at Built to Spill, a local band here. I've
heard of those guys.
Yeah, some of the lyrics that he writes are pretty incredible.
He's incredible.
Yeah, the lyricist. But I don't, like I said, it doesn't register to me when I'm listening to the music. And then, like my brother's like, you should probably just go and read them.
Yeah,
because they're pretty amazing.
He's incredible.
To be able to come up with some of those things is pretty nuts to me, and then have it be
animal.
Meaningful within the song. So. Lots of respect for you to be able to write lyrics and melodies with your music, man.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do it.
Well, I did like Redesign. I liked Redesign a ton.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
thank you.
Super strong album, and it makes sense now that you say that your background is in drums, because that title track is really to me it's really catchy, but it's just that beat that you have in the background. I think that kind of just takes you with it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So, right on. Do you want to end with one of the questions from one of my friends? His name's Wes. I call him the Abyss, and he comes up with really interesting questions. I mean, this one's not.
I'll take it.
This is one of them. What is your favorite day of the week and why?
Ooh, this is great. I've been really getting into the days of the week.
Really?
Yeah, like from a Vedic astrology perspective.
Oh, okay.
And my wife is pretty knowledgeable about this. And
how coincidental that I randomly landed on that question. Cool. Okay, good.
So lately it changes, but lately I've been I've always loved Sundays. That's a classic. Sunday is a classic day.
Okay.
It's always just feels different than the other days. But lately I've been getting into Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thursdays?
Super into Thursdays.
Okay. Why?
Today's been okay. Today's Saturday, right? Yeah.
Today's Saturday.
So usually Saturdays are pretty hard.
Really?
Saturdays can be rough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, Saturday's my favorite day.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because I work during the week, and then
hard Saturdays.
Saturday I get the day off, plus I get to sleep in the next day. So it's like,
yeah. Well, like circumstantially, Saturdays are nice, but But yeah, so, I mean, so each day is relates to a planet.
Oh.
And according to Vedic astrology.
Okay. Wasn't aware of this.
So Sunday, the sun.
Okay.
I'm not an expert. I can't go through it all.
Okay.
I won't even try.
Just if you're interested, look it up.
Yeah. Check this whole thing. I'm not the expert. But when it's made total, I don't know if you have things like that. Like, you hear it and it just makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, that's like truth. Like, sure. Why wouldn't it be truth? So I've heard this, and so it's and it also penetrated a little bit. Like I think of the days in these different ways, and so Thursdays, there's just something about a Thursday. It's actually really hard to explain, and very strange. So what is the planet that's connected to Thursday? I forget.
I picture Jupiter, but I may be wrong.
There's just a clarity. Mm-hmm. You know what?
Is that right?
I think you're exactly right.
Okay. Seems like a big day to me.
I'm almost certain. I mean, look it up. Yeah, look it up, but I'm almost certain Thursday is Jupiter. That's crazy that you just guessed that.
It's got to be true then.
Because, Jupiter represents the teacher or the spiritual master.
Oh, okay.
And that's what Thursday is. And there's just a clarity about a Thursday. I've found on Thursdays I'm more able to like soak things in. I'm able to read for longer and kind of just absorb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty productive on Thursdays too, because I know that Friday's right around the corner, and so I can stay up a little bit later. It's not going to cost me too much.
Yeah.
Plus, I've gotten in the groove of waking up all week by that point.
You're practical, man.
Yeah,
I like it.
I try to be. Right on.
What a cool question. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, we're at an hour, Nick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, doesn't that go fast?
By.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And when can we catch you at TreeFort?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so stay tuned. I mean, it'll be on the TreeFort website.
Yeah.
And I know that their app is super awesome. I don't know if you've ever used it.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super slick.
Great. It's such a great festival.
Yeah, it is.
Easy festival.
It is. Yeah. And if one of the venues is too busy every single time, like I go, and if I can't get in one place, I just slide down the road and it's like there's another amazing group playing.
It's easy. You just kind of float down the river.
Cool. Well, you'll have to keep me posted on that. I'll see it online. I'm excited to see your set though.
Thank you. Good talking with you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.